Today, the students and staff of Central Columbia High School have an opportunity to hear from special guests on their experiences and their work dealing with drug and alcohol use and abuse. That these individuals have chosen our school to present this message is both an honor and an opportunity. I would like to also welcome the members of the media here today and our guests from law enforcement and from the judicial branch of the government. Please welcome the following special guests. The highest-ranking elected official ever to visit our high school, the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Kathleen Kane. Our two main presenters today. First, from the Office of the Attorney General, Senior Supervisory Special Agent Janine Holter. And also, many of you know, also presenting is the retired captain of the Pennsylvania State Police, our own Mr. Jim Merton. Also with us this morning, a member of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives, representing the 107th District, Mr. Kurt Mosser. And our local representative to the Pennsylvania House, a friend to me, and I can assure you to you, representing our own 109th District, Representative David Millard. Our first speaker this morning is a businessman, former Northumberland County Commissioner. A resident of Elysburg, this gentleman has a great interest in the issues dealing with drugs and alcohol. First elected to the House of Representatives in 2010, this gentleman represents the 107th District, which includes Montour County, the southeastern part of Northumberland County, and the southwestern part of Columbia County. Please welcome State Representative Kurt Mosser.
First, thank you all, students, faculty, the folks at Central Columbia for allowing us to have this program here today. And most especially, thank you, Attorney General Kane, for your presence on what is such an important topic. Thank you, Representative Millard, law enforcement, judges, elected officials. It's great to have you all here to show your support for making a difference in our communities. The drug and alcohol problem, I knew we had a problem. But 1 year ago, if you would have asked me, name one person in your family who would never be involved in drugs, I would have said that would be my niece Erica. Well, the day after Thanksgiving last year, we buried Erica from a heroin overdose. Since then, it's opened up the floodgates, people coming into my office and talking about their own struggles and their own losses. I heard from a man from Shamokin who had a son who, as a child, was afraid of needles so bad they had to hold him down when he just went in to get his immunization shots. Or if they went and took him in for a tetanus shot, they had to hold him down to have a needle put into him. But he was out with friends, and the friends offered him a prescription drug. And the thought was, well, it's a prescription drug. It can't be dangerous. It's prescription. He was hooked on prescription drugs shortly thereafter. The stories I heard from his father going into the parts of Philadelphia that none of us would want to go into, in other cities across the state, armed because he was afraid for his own life. The father was afraid for his own life, looking for his son, looking to save his son. The things that he did in his own neighborhood to keep the people who were supplying the drugs away from him was absolutely horrible. He lost his son. Found him robbed in a street in Philadelphia. The woman from Southern Columbia who lost her daughter, how she just denied that her daughter could be involved in the problem, only to find out that it, in fact, was true, and she lost her daughter. Another man from Danville and a separate woman from Cole Township both had boys. Both got involved in prescription drugs, went to other drugs. They struggled with these drugs for a long time. Both boys took their own lives because of their heroin epidemics or drug epidemics or drug addictions. Also, the young man who had back surgery. Doctors gave him painkillers. He got hooked on the painkillers. He struggled with this for decades. He survived, but every day for him is a challenge. You see, addiction is a disease. We don't have to hide it. If we have any other disease, we don't hide it. We seek treatment. If your friend had diabetes, you'd seek treatment wherever you could. If you had cancer, you would seek treatment. You would do whatever it took to save your friends' lives. But yet in this culture, we seem to hide it. We seem to think that we are all alone. My sister, as she dealt with the loss of her daughter, it was horrible to watch. First, the pure agony of losing a child, the embarrassment of your child losing to a drug problem, feeling like you're all alone. You're not all alone. When I talked to, after losing my niece, I went into a number of schools and I talked to the young people and I asked different classes. We were in small settings and I asked different classes, I said, if you had a friend who was involved in drugs, would you feel comfortable talking to any adult in that school and letting them know your friend had a problem? Every single one of them said they wouldn't talk to an adult. They wouldn't tell them. It would be betraying the friendship. I got to thinking about it, and it came to me too late to share with them. I went back to share it with them, but you know, in times like that, you have a choice. Either you lose your friendship, and you might because you've told on that person, or would you rather lose your friend? You know, times have changed from when we were young and we were in school. We faced pressures, we had stresses, but the opportunities that we had were different. We may have seen marijuana, we may have seen alcohol when we were going through in your age, but you face so many different pressures. And you know, we want to be there to help you face those pressures and make the right decisions. We often say, you know, we're state leaders now, county leaders now, but we always say, you know, and it's the truth, you are our future leaders. You're the ones who are going to govern. You're the ones who are going to say, this is the way it's going to be. This is going to be your country. This is going to be your state. More importantly, this is going to be your hometown. You have choices. From what I hear now, after talking to kids, that if you're clean, oftentimes, you're the ones who are the minority. It doesn't have to be that way. You can't accept the status quo. Lead now. Don't accept that this is the way it's going to be. Step up. Make a difference and say, no, it's not okay. It's not okay for our area to be headed the way it is. It's not okay for when I'm an adult that my area is going to look like this and I'm the one who's going to make a difference. I challenged the students to do this and take our communities back, make our area a safer, better place for you to grow and raise your own families. Thank you so much for having me, and I would like at this point to introduce Representative Dave Millard.
Well, good morning, everyone. You heard Representative Mosser tell you that it's up to you to be involved. It's up to you to make a difference in your community. And I think as we look at the map of our communities, we realize if we were to put pins on that map, how close this epidemic, this problem, is getting to us in our own small way, to us in our homes, to us in our communities where each of us engage in a lot of activities. So you as an individual, the message for you as a student is that you can make a difference, and we want you to make a difference. And we've got a lot of invited guests here today, local law enforcement, county commissioners, judges, district magistrates. And what we're going to do after you leave this program as students today is that we're going to establish a network within that community, a network that you can access, a network that you can tap to make your concerns known and report what you see. Because if we all work together, we can make a difference. So first of all, thank you all for joining us today. And it's been no secret in the news that Columbia County has been struggling with a sharp spike in meth labs. But it's also important to note that our local law enforcement agencies have been very aggressive in identifying meth labs and apprehending those responsible. The success that we've seen so far in identifying the meth labs is because we're seeing a great effort among local, regional, and state law enforcement agencies to work together to deal with this menace to our community. But the effort to deal with this problem doesn't just deal with our law enforcement. It must be fueled by an effort from every single one of us. When we're spending time with friends, heading to jobs, or doing our everyday activities, if any one of us encounters something that would lead to a drug arrest, it's important that we each take the crucial step of reporting what we've seen. Our law enforcement can't be everywhere, and it's up to us to make the initial reports. As part of the program today, you'll get specific information on what you need to include in a report to local police and how to go about making a report. And I can't stress enough that the role that we each play in this has a profound impact on ridding our community from the problems that are associated with illegal drugs. And today I'm proud to welcome Pennsylvania's top law enforcement official to our gathering. Pennsylvania Attorney General Kathleen Kane was elected in 2012 after serving several years of distinguished service as an assistant district attorney in Lackawanna County. The Attorney General's office works together with law enforcement agencies across Columbia County and across Pennsylvania to identify and prosecute drug dealers and traffickers who bring illegal drugs into our communities, and to shut down the corrupt criminal organizations that profit from the drug sales. We face a serious drug issue in our community, but a tough stance from our local and state law enforcement agencies is having a very positive effect. I encourage you to give Attorney General Kane and her staff your full attention and learn how we each can play an important role in ridding our community from the threat of illegal drugs. It's my honor, my pleasure, to introduce to you Pennsylvania Attorney General Kathleen Kane.
Good morning. I am here for two reasons. I am 47 years old. I've been in law enforcement for almost 20 years, and I will tell you that drugs have always been a battle. They were a battle when I was in high school and college. They've been a battle all throughout my law enforcement career, but this is downright war. We are now at war. It has never been worse than it is now. The Center for Disease Control has said that prescription pill abuse and then the preceding heroin abuse is an epidemic in the United States. And I'm here to tell you that in Pennsylvania, it is no better. We are not the worst state by far, but we in law enforcement have no intention on getting there, because the only one who loses is you and all of our communities. Your parents lose, you lose, our communities lose, and our future loses, because you are our future. You have great futures ahead of you. You always have dreams. Everybody has hopes. Everybody has a future. Everybody has some place to go. I will tell you that when Representative Masser told you about Philadelphia and the worst parts of Philadelphia, we've been there. It's called the Badlands. And there's a park called Needle Park. And it's called Needle Park for a reason, because it is just strewn with needles. And all the little kids play amongst the needles. They know it's called Needle Park. So while we were there, we had to have heavy security while we were there, by the way, because it is very dangerous. A group of little boys came up to me, and they said, what are you doing here and what's going on? And we told them. And I said to them, they were about 8 years old, I said, what do you guys want to do when you get older? And despite the fact that they live in one of the worst parts of our state, the hardest hit by drugs, they all had their dreams. 2 of them wanted to be police officers. 1 wanted to be on the SWAT team. Another wanted to be a professional baseball player. And another one wanted to be a veterinarian. They had their dreams. But somewhere along the line, that changes. And they forget their dreams, and they forget that they can get there, and then they start to turn to a life of drugs. And we think it's because they feel like they have no hope or they have no support, and there's no way that they can get there, so they might as well turn to drugs. And I'm here to tell you that is not true. I didn't grow up in a great part of town. I grew up in West Scranton, which at that time was considered one of the worst parts of town. I went to a public school. We didn't have a lot of money. I worked since I was 13 years old because if I wanted something, I had to work to get my money to pay for it. But I never lost that feeling of hope that I can do whatever I wanted to do. That's because I had strong parents and I had great teachers. Despite the fact that we were in one of the worst public schools, they never let us forget that we could do whatever we want. And you have that exact same thing. You are not alone. You do have people around you to support you, and if you feel like you're losing that dream or where you're going to go, you always have someone to turn to. You have your friends, you have your family, you have your teachers. So I encourage you to do that. I know everybody here, I want you to think back to when you were 8 years old or 10 years old and what you wanted to be. And I want you to remember that you can do that. And you have some great futures here. I understand one of your seniors is going to Cornell. Where's Ellen Shepard? She here? Raise your hand, Ellen. There you are. So Ellen Shepard is going to Cornell. Ellen Shepard is on the track and field team, am I right? What do you want to be when you go there? Undecided? That's okay. You're going to graduate, right? Good. Ellen's holding on to that dream, but she cannot get there unless she stays away from drugs, and she has that choice every single day. How about Gracie Jukes? Where's Gracie Jukes? Not here? Where is she? She's working? Good for her. But my point is that everybody here has a future, and you need to hang on to that. So when I said that we're involved in this battle and now it's a full blown-out war, the reason we are here, and we are here as law enforcement, and we are here as your leaders, your state leaders, is to show you that we are all working together to battle this epidemic. We're all here. And you're here because you are a part of it. We cannot do it without you. You are just as important to this war as our local law enforcement, as our state law enforcement, as our federal law enforcement that we work with, and as your state leaders. You are just as much a part of this war. This is your school. You cannot allow your school to be taken over. This is your reputation, it's your school's reputation, and this is your community's reputation. And someday you're going to be living here, and you're going to have kids, and you're going to be happy and proud of yourselves that you fought that battle when we asked you to fight it with us. We need you to be a part of that. We need you for a couple of reasons. Part of what we do is we provide education and outreach because we do not want you to become a part of that. So please don't take that hour that we gather you together and teach you about drugs. Don't take it as your time to plan on who you're taking to the prom or make out your Christmas list. We're there because we want you to understand where you can go and what can happen. We want you to know what these drugs look like. Sometimes they're stamped, they look like candy. We want you to recognize it, and then you have the responsibility of making that choice. You know, I have 2 little boys, and I am constantly in their ear, constantly about drugs and doing bad things. But I know as a parent, I am not with them all the time. And I know that I have to allow them out into the world. And the best that I can hope for is that when they're faced with that choice, when somebody hands them a pill, somebody hands them a drug, that they hear that ringing in their heads. And you have to do the same. You know, we have to reteach you what a drug dealer looks like. It used to be the guy in the white van with the long hair and the scraggly and sweaty and all disgusting out on the corner, right? That's what we all taught you that a heroin drug dealer looks like. But prescription drugs are different. And the new drug dealer looks exactly like the person who hands it to you. It could be anybody. It could be the cheerleader. It could be the football player. It could be your friend. It could be somebody that sits next to you in class. Anybody who hands you a prescription pill or prescription drug has now become a drug dealer, and you are in a very serious danger of getting hooked. So we need to reteach you what a drug dealer looks like. That's part of our education and outreach. We in law enforcement, then, if something happens, we go after the drug dealers. And unfortunately, the drug users get caught up in that. So we need you to be a part of our enforcement. There's only so far we can go. We don't have eyes and ears everywhere. We need you to report those crimes. And I'll tell you why. Because your friend may be the next one who gets hooked on prescription pills. Your friend, your brother, your younger sister, they may be the next ones. And we need you to step up to the plate. Just like you heard, if somebody had cancer, if somebody had a disease, you know, that we typically think of, diabetes or whatever, we would do whatever we can to help them. We hold fundraisers. We all show them our support. But I want you to think about your friend. And if your friend was about to be hit by a school bus because she's standing out in the parking lot on her cell phone, doesn't see it coming, would you yell to her? Would you say something? Get out of the way. Yes, you would. If she was choking, would you try and get her help? Yes, you would. And this is the exact same thing. All you have to do is say something. There are many trusted people around you that you can tell. All you have to do is speak up, and you have saved a life. I want you to do that. I need you to do that. You are a part of our law enforcement community from here on in, and I need you to help us out. And the third prong of this is making sure that anybody who gets wrapped up in drugs gets the help that they need. Now, yes, I arrest people. Yes, we put them in jail. That's our job. But I want you to know that we have compassion for drug users. We want you to get help. We want you to get treatment because it's in the community's best interest that you get the help that you need and you don't go back out and reoffend. And it's also in your best interest. Like I told you, I'm a mother. I want to see my sons come to me if they need help. I want them to go to a teacher or somebody they trust. And I want you to do the same. This is nothing to be embarrassed about. This is something that you got caught up in, and we want you to get help. So please speak up. You will hear from many people going on throughout this program. You'll hear from potential drug users. We have recovering heroin addicts. We have recovering prescription pill addicts who are now working with us. They've turned their life around. They are recovering. They have a future. And they are now joining in this war with us. And I want you to know that we welcome them, we respect them tremendously, and we appreciate their help. And we want you to be a part of that. So, we're going to boil it down. We want you to listen to what we're saying because we're here to help you and help you to avoid becoming into that situation. We want you to be a part of this war. You are a part of our law enforcement team, and I want you to step up to the plate and save your friend. And 3, I want you to get the help that you need because we are here for you. I am here because I want you to know you have a future and we are here to help you. So thank you very much for having me. I want you to know that our staff is always available to you. All these fine ladies and gentlemen sitting over here are available to you as well. And your school clearly cares about you by putting this program together, gathering you all together so that we can show you that you are going to have great futures. Thank you.
My name's Agent Janine Holter, and I work for the Pennsylvania Office of Attorney General, and I am very honored to be here today. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I graduated from Tamaqua High School, went to Alvernia University in Reading, and received a criminal justice degree. I worked outpatient drug and alcohol for 3 years, Carbon County adult probation and parole for 2 years, and I've been with the Attorney General's office now for the last 15 years. In between that, I received my master's degree from Marywood University in Scranton. My first 10 years, I worked Bureau of Narcotics Investigation and Drug Control with the Attorney General's office. My duties including buying drugs undercover on the streets, executing search warrants, doing arrest warrants, and doing wiretap investigations. So I'm a law enforcement officer. Now I'm in Bureau of Special Investigations in the Education and Outreach Unit. It's our responsibility to go out and educate you, to make you think about choices that you're going to make. We do several different presentations from cyberbullying to internet safety, to drugs and alcohol. And today we're here to talk about a very tender topic. It's a topic that a lot of us in here really don't like to talk about, but we need to talk about it. There's issues within your community. There's issues all throughout the United States and in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania about students, adults, that sometimes are making bad choices. They're making bad choices because they don't know what they want to do with the rest of their life, or they're unsure, or they're not confident enough in themselves to talk to others to say, how can you help me? What can you do for me? We're all here today to support you, to look out for you. Every single adult in this room, we care about you, and we want you to succeed. We live in a great country. You can do whatever you want, every single one of you in here, and we want you to always focus on your future goals. I brought a special guest with me today. He works for our Bureau of Narcotics Investigation Unit. We're going to call him Donnie. Of course, that's not his real name, but that's his undercover name. Donnie, how long have you been with our office?
I've been with the Attorney General's office 15 years.
Can you tell me what your duties are?
My duties are, I'm an undercover narcotics agent. I'm to investigate drug users, drug dealers through either confidential informants, making undercover buys in the streets, or using wiretap investigations in the community.
Could you explain to me what type of drugs are in our communities right now?
Right now, there are many drugs in our communities. We're seeing everything from marijuana to cocaine, to crack cocaine, to heroin, to methamphetamine, and also prescription medications.
Can you explain to me what is happening right now with prescription medications?
Prescription medications are being easily affordable, especially from students. Students are easily available to get them through either their parents without their parents' knowledge in their medicine cabinets, purchasing them through friends, or even through their aunts or uncles or grandparents going to their house and raiding their medicine cabinets and stealing the prescriptions from them.
I want every single one of you in here to understand what a prescription drug is. A prescription drug is given to you by a doctor. It's given to you for pain, for anxiety. It's given to you because you report a problem to the doctor. It's also given to you for your age, your height, and your weight. We have to be extremely aware of what a prescription drug is. It's not a Tylenol, it's not an Advil. It's not something that you can go to your local store and take off the shelf. You need to understand that a prescription drug is it's given to you for a pain reason, it's given to you for anxiety, anything like that. It's given to you by a doctor. Going into mom and dad's medicine cabinets, aunts and uncles, and say, oh, they take it, I can take it too. You can't do that because of the strength. Every prescription drug has a strength, milligrams. We have to understand that a prescription drug is given to us by a doctor and is given to us for a reason. Raiding mom and dad's medicine cabinet, aunts and uncles, grandparents, or a friend saying to you, oh, I take this, it's okay, you could take it too, is extremely dangerous. Unfortunately, we've had students taken to the hospital because they ingest somebody else's prescription drugs. Unfortunately, we are seeing some students get addicted to prescription drugs, and then they can't get a hold of them anymore. Then, unfortunately, we are seeing that they're turning to heroin use, because heroin, unfortunately, is cheap, and you can get it in your streets. I'm going to go back to Donnie. Donnie, can you tell me, of the arrests that you've made, What's the impact of drug use to their families?
The impact right now is very tremendous. It basically rips families apart. They lose incomes, they lose their homes, they lose their vehicles. A lot of times they lose their jobs, they lose employment, and basically the family breaks down at this point.
When you arrest individuals, do they wish they would have never started using drugs or dealing drugs?
There is a mixture when I arrest them. Some people are very remorseful that they started using drugs. They've had problems and they didn't know how to cure them, and they decide that maybe pill use or a controlled substance of either heroin or cocaine or marijuana makes them feel better, and that's their way out. Some people I arrest have no remorse for doing it. They basically tell you that you arrest me now, I'll be out in a couple years and I'll just start over again, because their greed is there. The money factor is there.
And let's talk about that for a minute. Their greed, their money factor. When we arrest people, if they have nice vehicles and if they have nice homes, if they don't work for a living, are we able to do anything about the profit that they're receiving from selling drugs?
Absolutely. When we conduct an investigation with Attorney General's office, a lot of times our investigations go for months, if not up to a year or 2 years. After we accumulate all our investigative needs that we need, people are arrested, search warrants are conducted at residences. If they have no legal means of employment, we've seized houses, we've seized boats, cars, large screen TVs. Anything that's a proceed from drug activity, we seize and is sold at auctions.
And one last question. Do you have anything else to say to the students here today with your longtime law enforcement career on how to give them advice on not how to ever meet you on the street?
We all grew up, our parents, grandparents, and aunts and uncles always told us that we have choices in life. Either make good choices with good decisions or bad choices with bad decisions. If you make good decisions about drug use, you'll never encounter me. If you make decisions of a bad and you decide to go into being a drug user or drug trafficker, I guarantee you this, you will meet me or another narcotics agent, you will be arrested, and then that's when your troubles just start.
And if you're at a party and you get that terrible feeling in your gut, they're trying to tell you something. Your gut's going, hey, let's get out of here. Leave. Those people don't like you anymore? Too bad. They weren't really friends of yours. And I want you to really think about that. You have to think about who you're going to surround yourself with. And that's for the rest of your life. What kind of friends are you going to have? Are these people going to support you and look out for you? That's who you want to surround yourself with. I want you to think about that. You also have to think about there's power in numbers. Power in numbers. If every single one of us in here today leave and say, we're going to make this a drug-free school, we're going to do it. If we know somebody bringing pills in, we know somebody bringing weed in, we're going to report it. You're not being a rat. What you're being is you're looking out for the best interests of everybody else out this school. That's being a future leader. I want every single one of you in here to be a future leader. You can be. You can. But sometimes you have to make tough decisions. You can make this a drug-free school. You can do it. I want you to think about that as we go through this presentation today. We're proud of every single one of you that are sitting in this room. You have great futures ahead of you. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about that as I show you a story. It's a true story. I'm going to introduce you to Mike.
I'm Pennsylvania Attorney General Kathleen Kane. 1 out of every 5 students ages 12 to 17 has abused prescription drugs. It's a staggering number. Chances are you know someone who falls into this category. What you probably may not know is that illegal use of prescription drugs carries with it some very serious consequences. Consequences that you'll have to live with for the rest of your life. You may lose your family, your friends, your freedom, and even your life.
parents got divorced when I was 3. Lived with my mom my whole life. I wanted to make her proud. I wanted to excel for her, you know, so she could feel like she had accomplished something through me. I started with just drinking. I told myself I'd never smoke weed or anything like that. And eventually I did that. I didn't really consider myself to have a problem. I kept experimenting with things, and then when I was 17, I got in a car accident. It was easy for me to just go and tell the doctor, look, I can't function in daily life. I can't keep a job like this. I can't keep my life going with this amount of pain. At first, that was kind of true, and then it got to the point where I knew that wasn't the truth, but I didn't care because I was so used to that system of lying to him in order to get more medication. I went all the way from Percocet 10s, and then that escalated all the way to 80 milligram Oxycontin. It was 3, 4, 5 a day. I figured that I was doing well enough with it. I kind of looked at it like no doctors want to get in trouble for doing something wrong, so they're not going to really stop you. People would come to me and say, look, we know that there's something wrong with you. We know you're doing something, and you obviously have a problem with some kind of substance. And I'd deny it. I'd play it off like I needed it in my life. In my mind, it was okay, but in reality, it was obvious to everybody. I realized that I had a habit and that it was more than I should be taking, but in my mind, I thought I could stop whenever I wanted. It turned out that I was coming up with less and less every month. I'd have less pills than I should have, and I'd have that period of withdrawal. That's how I ended up starting out with heroin. Heroin was cheap, and someone introduced me to that, and it took away the sickness. The first time I got it was through a friend. You know, I was at a party. They saw I was sick. You know, they said, this will help you out. The first time I didn't shoot it. The first time I sniffed it. Afterward, I remember trying to sit up straight, and I couldn't hear, and I just collapsed. It was probably like the strongest euphoria I've felt in my entire life, and from there on, I never looked back. It turned into me selling my prescriptions, selling the heroin on top of that. I was willing to do whatever. I didn't really think about the consequences. I was pretty much out of school at that point. I had started homeschool for the last couple years. I had gotten arrested in school. That gave me a lot of freedom. I was home all day. My parents weren't home, so I could just do whatever I wanted. There was a sense of, what am I doing with myself? I was seeing things fall away, but to me it wasn't as important. I thought that since I got those things in the first place, I could stop the drugs whenever I wanted and get those things right back. I remember like the first time I went through a detox, my mom really thought that that would fix me. I was gonna be totally better when I got out, and I mean, as soon as I got home, I was getting high again. It drove her to hopelessness. She really thought that there was nothing that could be done for me. The pills I was getting, the weed I was smoking and drinking, I didn't see that as the problem. That took away any motivation to get better. I would go to rehab, that wouldn't work. I'd go to jail, that wouldn't work. You know, I'd overdose, that wouldn't change anything. My friends were dying around me, that didn't matter. I just constantly kept failing at everything, kept giving away what seemed like it mattered my whole life. I kept giving up all the desires I had. I finished high school, like through homeschool. I had the opportunity to start college, and before I could even really let that pan out, I was arrested. I was at my mom's house, and I had a bunch of drugs on me, and I guess I blacked out, and she called the cops. They woke me up, said, you know, you're under arrest, you're going to jail. Did the rehab thing, got out, and 8 hours later I had overdosed and was rearrested. The deal they wanted to give me was like a 2.5 to 5 year sentence. I feel pent up. The normal privileges of life that a lot of people take for granted, you know, being able to watch TV, see your family. You get a couple phone calls a week. If You know, if you're lucky, you wish you can go do what you want, and you can't. For me anyway, and for a lot of people I know, it was fun until it was too late. You don't realize it until it's too late. You think you're having a great time, and before you know it, you've lost everything. You're in a place like this, or you're in jail, or you're dead. I lost a ton of friends. I lost all the good friends that I grew up with. And my best friend, she died from an overdose. A good friend that I grew up with died in a car accident. He was taking pills and drinking, and they crashed on the way home. I had another good friend that mixed OxyContin with whiskey and didn't wake up. He, drowned in his vomit. I mean, really, the only people I know that did make it were the ones that were smart enough to get away from what I was doing. Addiction has no bias. It doesn't have to do with where you live, what kind of family you grew up in. It's not a matter of race, age, anything like that. It comes down to personal choices you're gonna make, and everyone faced them because these drugs are everywhere. I'd say the entire way my life panned out is my biggest regret. I mean, it seems to me like I've lost everything I really cared about. To an extent, I don't even know if I have a biggest regret. It's just the whole thing.
Want you to think about Mike's story. We didn't script this for Mike. We didn't tell him what to say. Mike was able to share his thoughts with us. I want to talk to you about your community. We're all here today for a reason. We're here today to support you and to look out for you. Law enforcement, social services, teachers, adults are here to protect you. Here you are. Here's your school. This is you. You represent this building. You represent every student that's in here. Your resume will always say Central Columbia. What legacy are you going to leave at this school? This is your journey. This is your life, and this is your choices. What's the legacy of your last name? I want you to think about that for a minute. What's the legacy of your last name? As you walk through this journey of being in school, there's stressors. You're going to think to yourself, can I take the next step? Can I make it to the finish line? Will I succeed? Every single one of you will succeed. You will, with the help of an adult. We always need that person. Just like adults and students, you have BFFs, people that you look out for. As you make your journey through school, I want you to think about the choices that you're going to make. Please, every single one of you can do great things. And you all have different talents. And I want you to think about the choices that you're going to make. I don't want you to be Mike. Mike has a high school too. Unfortunately, the legacy he left that high school was unfortunately him being arrested. Your children, if you stay here, what's going to be left for them in your towns, in your organizations, in your communities? I want you to think about that. Here's a picture of Bloomsburg. I took this because this is your community. So where you hang out, where you go, where some of you might go to school. And I want you to think about the issues that are happening right now within our community. Unfortunately, we're talking about drug use today. It's happening, it's out there, you're aware of it. You're aware that there's methamphetamine labs, there's cocaine, there's heroin, there's opiates, prescription drugs. I had the opportunity to talk to your Drug and Alcohol Commission, Columbia, Montour, Sullivan, Union counties. They cover 4 counties. I called them for a reason. I think we have to network and be team players. In order to do that, your Drug and Alcohol Commission, they mean something to you. Unfortunately, right now, their statistics for 2012, 2013, now they serve a total of 4 counties. Almost 600 people were interviewed for drug and alcohol issues. 242 of them reported that they were Columbia County residents. Think about that for a minute. They serve 4 counties. They served 599 people. The age groups that they serve, who got evaluated? Who needed treatment? Right now, 18 to 21 years of age, 52. But look back for a minute. They interviewed a 5-year-old. A 5-year-old. I want you to think about that for a minute. What's their drugs of choice? What are they reporting using? Alcohol, opiates, prescription drugs, heroin, marijuana. Polysubstance means more than one substance. They're using 2 to 3 to 4. I share those statistics with you because this is you. This is your life. You don't have to be a statistic. Nobody in this room has to be a statistic for drug use. You have to ask yourself, how are you going to make changes? There is power in numbers. So if we stand together and say, I don't want drug users, drug dealers, I don't want to have these problems here. How can we help? What could we make different? We need to work together, every single one of us in this room. We need to report it to others. We need to look out for our friends. If we have somebody that's dabbling in drug use, they need to talk to somebody. Because every single one of you in here are a future leader. Every single one of you, no matter what you're going to do, you're still a future leader. Every single one of you have talents and traits that you need to bring forward. And I want you to really think about that. What's your goals? Where do you see yourself? Because every single one of you will be representing our communities, our organizations, our state government in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Stand up and think about what can you do to make a change. This is difficult, and this may be hard for some of you in here. That's why I want you to think about how important every single one of you are in this room. Nobody is better than anyone else. And I want you to really think about that. We care about every single one of you in here, and we want you to bring your talents forward. It's important. And if you need help, if somebody is there and says, I don't know what to do, I need to talk to somebody, I'm unsure, I don't feel like I fit in, I don't have friends. The friends I did have, they don't like me anymore. Then I want you to talk to somebody. Every single one of us in here, adults, are here to protect you, to look out for you, to have your best interest in mind. And I want you to seek help from these adults. Before you walk out these doors today, I want you to pick somebody and put that person in your head and say, if I have any type of problems, I'm going to go talk to them. They're my person. Every day, you have the power to choose. And I want you to think about that power is right in your hands. And I want you to think about, we also have the power to change. And we change together by banding together to say, how are we going to help each other out? This is extremely important for every single one of you in this room because nothing can happen without teamwork. You have programs right here in this school to help you. You have programs for people in drug and alcohol issues and any types of issues to help you. Now I'm going to introduce a member that you're so familiar with. I'm going to introduce Jim Merton. I want him to come up here and talk about your student assistance program.
First of all, I would like to thank the Attorney General, our local representatives, and Special Agent Holter for bringing this message to our central family. As drug and alcohol liaison, this is very important to hear. Knowledge is power. I would imagine that every one of you that are in this auditorium today will walk out those doors with a little bit more knowledge to make better decisions in your life, particularly in regard to drug and alcohol use. Now, the common thread of all the people that spoke today is that there are people out there that are more than willing to help you. I, for one, would be honored to be the one that Special Agent Holter referred to as the one that you picked to help you out. In addition to that, since I've been here in February, I've joined a group of people that are equally dedicated and honor-bound to help you, and that's the Student Assistance Program at Central Columbia. Now, from what I heard, when you walked through these doors in 9th grade for the first day, you were introduced in a session about the Student Assistance Program. And maybe you haven't heard about it since that time. Well, this will be a little bit of a refresher course. It's dedicated to help you remove any obstacles you have that are preventing you from having a great experience at Central Columbia High School. And it's not necessarily academic. The primary goal of every school is academics, but this group could help you in any different aspect of your life that is getting in the way of that experience. Think of all the negative impacts, things that could impact your life as you go through high school. It's not only academics. You're well aware now of the impact that drug and alcohol could have in your life. But think about other ones as well. Family situations, a significant event in your life, health issues, peer pressure, trouble with friends. All those problems are under our bailiwick that we could help you out with. Our SAP program would be more interested in being proactive than reactive. We don't want to go into your lives after the detention, after the suspension, after the arrest occurs. We would rather be proactive and be there when the report card, letter of recommendation, college application, all come in with glowing things that you could be proud of written on them that make you the first choice to an employer, a college, or anything you want to aspire to be as you go through your life.